We're here with Dr. Lumsden, who's the Director of Distilling and Whiskey Creation at Glenmorangie, the whiskey that's got the world's fancy and one of the most complex single malts in the world and loved the world over from the hearts of Moet Hennessy. And for our friends and viewers at Tulleeho, we thought we should engage with Dr. Lumsden, this opportunity that he's given us to be in India, and ask him a couple of questions. And I'd like to begin with asking your first taste of single malt, the first sip of single malt. Do you remember? And what was it? And
very clearly, very clearly. It was in March 1984. It was in a party in Marchmont Road in Edinburgh. I can remember who I was with. I can even remember what song was playing in the hi-fi at the time, which was Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams from Footloose. And believe it or not, it was Glenmorangie 10-year-old. So it was that first sip that got me very much into the category and ultimately determined that that's where my career path lay.
So I could say it's love at first sip.
Love at first sip, and also a great sense of destiny that I'm now responsible for the quality of that whiskey.
Glenmorangie is definitely known the world over, apart from being a beautiful and a complex malt whiskey, and for being a whiskey that's unnecessarily well made, also for its wood finishes that you've pioneered. We'd like to hear a little more about you, your special finish, the one that you like the most out of all of the range that we have here.
It's quite a difficult question to answer that, and it's like you saying to me, do I prefer my son or my daughter? Obviously my daughter. But there's been so many memorable ones, and I guess for me, the one that really sticks out in my mind is the Glenmorangie Artane, which was finished in Sassicaia wine barrels, because Sassicaia is such a cult wine, and it always intrigued me, and it took me such a long time. So it was a real labour of love. So in terms of the wood finishes, the Artane is the one that very much stands out in my mind. And it won many awards for the company. And the comment I always loved was in Whiskey magazine when it was released, the comment they made was that this is the perfect example of how to finish whiskey in a wine barrel. Because some people leave it in too long, don't leave it in long enough.
I think your range has been a remarkable success, and kudos to you for it. A quick one from one of the big critiques or the connoisseurs of whiskey world, Jim Murray, recently said that Yamazaki's recent position as the world's finest whiskey last year, it should serve as a wake-up call to Scotch whiskey, single malt manufacturers. Your take on this line?
Well, again, I'm probably the right person to ask that question of, because of course the whiskey that won World Whiskey of the Year previous to Yamazaki was Glenmorangie Elanta. So Jim likes to say things that are semi-controversial, and all I can say is we've been around for nearly 200 years and will be around for many more years to come. So I don't see it as a wake-up call at all, and having won that award 3 times out of the last 7 years, we Scotch whisky and our whiskies can't win it all the time. So I wouldn't take that comment too seriously at all.
Right. So we will still associate Scotch with whiskey and not Japan with whiskey. Let there be a Yamazaki.
As far as I'm concerned, when you say whiskey, to most people, Scotch is what immediately springs to mind, because we were the first to be internationally available.
Absolutely. Which gets me to a very related question. It's been on my mind to ask you and the likes of you for some time. Like the wine has a new world, a new order, or the French wine and the new world wine. Do you see that happening to whiskies now that there are whiskies coming from? They were always Irish whiskies, and there are now whiskies coming out of Wales, the Welsh whiskies. Do you see some of the whiskies and a new world emerging in the whiskey scenario?
I think there is a new world emerging, but most of the new world, in my opinion, is trying to create what we've had in Scotland for a long time, and they're trying to make a Scotch-style whiskey. And I think it's quite appropriate that whiskey is made everywhere else in the world, and there's room for all of us, I would say. It's interesting you mentioned Welsh whiskey, because my right-hand woman, I pinched her from Penderyn. She was the distillery manager there, and she now works for me.
Lovely, excellent. And since you mentioned New World Order of whiskies, did you by any chance have a reason or a chance to try out emerging Indian whiskies? We have Amrut single malt.
Many times I've tried them. And like every other country in the world, I'd say the quality goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. And as far as I'm aware, Amrut certainly still is the pinnacle of Indian whiskey production. And I believe Amrut also has had the honour of winning Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible World Whiskey of the Year. So that's a good testament to it.